Peace, 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 peace. It's me, Furious Black. Um, it's gonna be a little long one. I want you guys to get the full scope of Mr. Joe Biden. All right.
Report released yesterday looking at the Joe Biden family's ties to Ukraine and China. The GOP issued report found that Hunter Biden's financial transactions with Ukrainian.
I'm gonna put out my speculation. I'm fully concerned with how people are ignoring what is being said here or what's coming out about this gentleman. We've known that he had ties to the KKK. We known that. We have pictures with him with former KKK members. I look at it like this. Anything before the internet, those people didn't change. Okay? These people didn't just come to the realization that being racist was wrong when they were in the government and implementing laws to hurt and destroy our family. From Nixon to this guy. So let's really pay attention to what we are seeing here. Oh, they're not arrested. Yo, so you trust the police now? Hold on. Before FBI report on KKK. Guardian. White supremacist groups have infiltrated U.S. law enforcement agencies in every region of the country over the last 2 decades, according to a new report about the ties between police and far-right groups. In a new timely new analysis, Michael German, a former FBI special agent who has written extensively on the ways the U.S. law enforcement has failed to respond to far-right domestic terror threats, includes that the U.S. enforcement officials have been tied to racist militant activists in more than a dozen states since 2000. So let's watch this guy, man. Fuck.
Russian, Kazakh, and Chinese nationals raise criminal concerns. The report also finds that the former vice president's office and State Department officials were aware of Hunter Biden accepting money from these countries, but ignored the concerns relating to Hunter Biden's role on the board of Burisma. Biden's campaign accused Johnson of distracting from the global pandemic, while President Trump's campaign released a statement overnight saying, quote, "For what possible reason could all of these foreign countries and entities be shoveling money at people named Biden, if not to influence official U.S. policy?" From the campaign. American journalists have a responsibility to relentlessly question Joe Biden about all of this in detail and to call out his attempts to cover up this potentially criminal activity. Of course, we haven't had a word of this from the mainstream media. Joining me right now is Wisconsin Senator and Chairman of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, Ron Johnson. Senator, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Good morning, Maria.
Some of these payouts are just stunning, like the money that the former wife of the former mayor of Moscow sent to Hunter Biden. I don't know what that was about, but let's go through the report and please go through the key findings. What struck you most in terms of the money that Hunter Biden accepted from these foreign countries, foreign companies, while his father was vice president, rather?
Sure. Again, we never sought to target or go after the Bidens. They put themselves in the middle of this with the Hunter's glaring and obvious conflict of interest joining the board of Burisma. So this happened just a couple months after Ukraine had their Revolution of Dignity, which is really all about ridding Ukraine of corruption. And here we set up this glaring conflict of interest where Hunter Biden was paid $4.2 million. He and his business partner and his businesses, $4.2 million over about 30 months. That calculates about $140,000 a month, almost $1.7 million per year. It's a pretty good gig if you've got the right last name.
So they did 3-year investigation on Trump and his connection to Russia and found nothing. They did the Senate, which this man is in the Senate, did an investigation and found all this on these two gentlemen. These two.
And let's face it, this was all about Zlochevsky, the owner of Burisma, trying to gain influence so that the charges, the investigations against him in Ukraine would be dropped. One thing that's kind of notable is in George Kent's interview before our committee, he pointed out that a $7 million bribe was paid by Zlochevsky, by Burisma, to make those investigations go away 7 months after Hunter Biden and Devon Archer joined the board of Burisma. And remember, Hunter Biden joined the board supposedly to consult on corporate governance and transparency. Didn't do a particularly good job. But then you hop to Russia, $3.5 million paid to Alina Baturina, the former wife of the now deceased former mayor of Moscow. She's Russia's lone woman billionaire or a woman billionaire.
The future of our nation depends on you.
Of course.
The only way to ensure victory and keep America great.
In Russia, got her billions through probably corrupt practices, being the mayor's wife. We had a very strange payment from Kazakhstan, $142,000 to buy a car for Devon Archer, and then the millions of cash flow between the intricate web of corporate dealings with the Chinese nationals that have current connections to the communist government and former affiliations with the People's Liberation Army, helping arrange, for example, the purchase by and the control by Chinese business of a U.S. dual parts auto manufacturer. The type of equipment could be used for military purposes by the PLA. Again, it's such an extensive web. There's so many millions of dollars flowing back and forth with those associations. We've just only uncovered. I think we're only scratching the surface. We have no guarantee that we've uncovered it all. We just have really laid out a pretty troubling web that represents potential conflict of interest, counterintelligence, and extortion risks to a Biden administration.
Unbelievable. So you're talking about $4.2 million coming from Burisma. You're talking about $3.5 million coming from the wife of the former wife of the former mayor of Moscow. You're talking about tens of millions of dollars coming from China. Do you have evidence? Now, you just said that there was an allowance to acquire a company in Michigan by AVIC, the Chinese company that is tied to the PLA, the military of China. Do you have evidence that, in fact, policy was changed by the Biden vice president or the Obama-Biden administration in conjunction with these payouts to Hunter Biden? Was policy changed?
Well, first of all, it's hard to find smoking guns. It's even more difficult when you can't get the documents even out of an administration or the State Department that is supposedly controlled by a Republican president. The problem is his political appointees are at the top of the organization, but just right below that top layer, you still have people loyal to Biden's that know where the balls are hidden, and they've done a pretty good job hiding the balls. But let's face it, these types of transactions require approval. Approvals through CFIUS, sometimes involve the Secretary of State. And, those approvals were given to some of these transactions. That is what is so troubling about this is we don't know the full extent of all these financial transactions, and we need to dig into it. And Maria, what is amazing is the deafening silence out of the mainstream media here. They looked at our report, 87 pages. I don't think any of them read it. But what they did instead is they just kind of shrugged and said, oh, this is just a bunch of old news. Because maybe one news outlet at one point in time reported the fact that Hunter had some connections to China. Nothing new here. There's all kinds of new, very troubling pieces of information. And what I'm hoping our report will do, because we haven't answered all the questions, not by a long shot. We've raised more questions than we actually answered. I'm hoping people will start connecting the dots. And I'm already starting to see some, at least information on the internet where investigative journalists are beginning to connect the dots with the new information that we provided.
Well, we have been connecting the dots here and on Sunday Morning Futures on Fox News. You know that. But what about an investigation? Did the former administration investigate any of this?
No, there again, as far as we can tell, there was only one person in the Obama administration that actually talked to the vice president about it. George Kent talked to the vice president's staff, but Amos Hochstein, who was a special envoy over to Ukraine, actually did talk to the vice president about how troubling this was, this conflict of interest, which, by the way, led the vice president then to talk to Hunter Biden to set up a meeting with Amos Hochstein to talk about this. Now, remember, Vice President Biden famously in the end of 2009 said he never had spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings. This sure sounds like a conversation he probably had with Hunter Biden about his position on Burisma's board. So I'm sorry to say I think we've caught the vice president in a lie, which, by the way, I never believed that was true. How can you literally fly over to China? You know, it's not just a half-hour flight. You have that multiple-hour flight to have Hunter Biden on Air Force Two for all those many hours. And then Hunter Biden have his own agenda in China, which included, by the way, setting up a handshake with the vice president, with Jonathan Lee, one of his business associates. I mean, how could you not discuss that? So there's the first question I'd have for the vice president. Do you stand by your statement that you never spoke to Hunter about his overseas business in light of this new information? I think the vice president's going to have a really hard time explaining that if he is ever asked and pressed on it.
Yeah, that's a big question. If he is ever asked, we have reached out to Joe Biden many times to join me on this program and on Sunday Morning Futures. He refuses to join me. We will make the call again when I get off the air today to invite Vice President Biden on the program with me to discuss the election and more. Let me ask you about subpoenas. I mean, what about subpoenaing Hunter Biden or even Joe Biden to answer these questions? Where are the Republicans in bringing these witnesses down to face questions?
We have to learn how to distinguish between truth and falsehoods.
Questioning and the consequences, Senator.
So I've already sent an invitation to the attorneys of both Hunter and Devon Archer. And I will note that the President Trump's family, the members of his campaign staff, did not require any subpoenas whatsoever to come and subject themselves to a transcribed interview. So Hunter and Devon, and quite honestly, the invitation is open to the vice president as well. If we're getting something wrong here, if there's an innocent explanation for these transactions, we're happy to come and listen.
Meaning we have the documents of you guys getting millions of dollars from Ukraine. We have it. We have everything. If you have a legitimate reason why different amounts, sums of money was going into bank accounts associated with you, your foundations, your family, please come forward and speak up. This is what he's saying.
That instant explanation. You know, the problem with subpoenas, Marie, is you start going down the path of legal proceedings, and I've only got 3 months left of my chairmanship. I want to conclude this investigation by the end of this Congress so that the American people know what happened, that they have the right to know this. So subpoenas, it sounds like a pretty good idea, and they can be pretty powerful, more as a threat than anything else. But from my standpoint, this report ought to create the public pressure on Hunter, on Devon, on the vice president to start coming clean with the American public and start providing some answers. Because, again, the extortion, the counterintelligence, the conflict of interest threats that this information poses, all this intricate web of connections with foreign nationals that are part of countries that are not our friends.
We should point out that John Kerry, who was a sitting cabinet member, his son was also involved. That was Hunter Biden's partner.
Yeah, Chris Hines. And we should also point out that, this was the Burisma situation was such a awkward. That's according to George.
Y'all forgot. If y'all don't stop this investigation, you're not going to get these billions of dollars. Burisma. Y'all forgot.
Can't such an
He didn't talk to his son. He didn't know what his son was doing, but you want them to stop investigating Burisma. Oh, because the person investigating, the police officer, is corrupt. Huh. He's investigating corruption, and he's the corrupt one. Interesting. Very, very interesting.
awkward situation for everybody. Everybody in the U.S. government trying to help Ukraine rid itself of corruption. That John Kerry, 5 years later in 2019, when asked, "Did you know anything about Hunter Biden on Burisma's board?" He denied it, even though we have evidence by testimony that he was briefed the next day. He was given clippings. He was briefed specifically.
See, this is the thing that paperwork. They document everything.
By his chief of staff, who also talked to Hunter about this as well. So,
Senator,
John Kerry also lied to the American
John Kerry lied. Joe Biden lies.
people when he denied that.
All right,
unbelievable.
let's get to Jimmy Dore. These people are beyond sick, man. Real talk.
Blue check Hollywood. You know who isn't? Joe Biden and the Democrats. They just, okay, well, let's.
We can't continue to allow people to dictate our thought process of how this is being shaped up to be. Okay? Once again, white supremacists and militia, KKK, infiltrated police for 2 decades. All right? So
Here we go. They just fucking fast-tracked. They just passed as judges again yesterday. It's so ridiculous to see my old friends from comedy who are now successful in Hollywood behind this camera or wherever. It's just so crazy. How hard is it to pressure your politicians to deliver something for people? They're go get a vote. What the fuck happened to people's mind? It's alcoholic behavior. Again, the United States is one big country filled of adult children of alcoholics. They don't get mad at the guy who's fucking you. They get mad at the guy who's telling you about the guy fucking you. That's what adult children of alcoholics do. And this won't stop. Hey, great reporter Josh Rogan, who is, again, the worst of reporters. He's one of the scummiest of scum. Here he is doing conspiracy theories. Straight up conspiracy theories, tweeting it out. Opinion, exclusive, secret CIA assessment. Putin probably directing influence operations to denigrate Biden. Are you ever skeptical of the CIA, Josh? No. The answer is no. Why? Because he's paid not to be. If he was, he would be fired, and he knows that, and that's why they hired him. Because he's willing to push CIA talking points that he knows are false. Hey, secret guy.
So you have this guy putting out information saying that this guy is putting out disinformation about this guy. Okay.
I might have said something. That's all you need to know. Secret CIA. That's it. It's over. It's a bullshit article. Here's the article. Ready? Citing 2 unnamed sources who reviewed the assessment.
Unnamed sources.
The Washington Post reported. Citing 2 unnamed sources who reviewed the assessment, the Washington Post reported, we assessed President Vladimir Putin and the senior-most Russian officials are aware of and probably directing Russia's influence operations aimed at denigrating the former U.S. vice president and fueling public discord ahead of the U.S. election in November. Sources unknown but close to the Washington Post predict sources include a gut and half a brain. Those are their 2 sources. Their gut and half a brain. Those are the 2 unnamed sources. But this gets printed. If I did that on this channel, that would get flagged and they would shut me down. If I did that on YouTube, we have a higher standard at the Jimmy Dore YouTube show than they do at the Washington Post, New York Times, MSNBC, and CNN. We actually have a higher standard. Sources are unknown. And they print it. Love how the free press just uncritically repeats what the CIA says. You know, the assassination and drug running arm of the U.S. government. Hey, how does Putin control what comes out of Biden's mouth? His own words and past actions are what's behind his floundering. I like how probably has taken a new meaning. First red flag, Josh Rogan. That's what, yep. Second red flag, secret CIA assessment. Third red flag, probably directing. I don't believe this at all. Here's Joe Biden. You want to know why Joe Biden's floundering? It has nothing to do with Vladimir Putin or Russia or a secret organization to undermine his credibility. It's because Joe Biden is a maniac. He's responsible for the prison industrial complex, and he still doesn't apologize for it. You think I'm kidding? And whenever Joe Biden says something extra insidiously stupid and against workers, he whispers it like he's being clever. Watch this.
Can you be a progressive and be so tough on crime? Well,
I'm not
I
progressive.
wasn't wedded to the notion. Every time Richard Nixon, when I was running in 1972, would say law and order, the Democratic mantra, the response was law and order with justice, whatever that meant. And I'd say lock the SOBs up.
Mind you, he's talking about black people. What is this, 94? He's talking about black people.
Well, just as it is no longer legitimate to say the Republican Party is against, as a matter of course, Social Security, the Republicans are finding out it's no longer legitimate to say the Democrats are soft on crime. Because guess what? What has every major crime bill that's gotten this far been? A Democratic crime bill.
See, they've told on themselves for years, on record. On record. So when people come and say to me, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm believing conspiracy theories and all this shit. No. I'm going straight to the horse's mouth. Big Joe, the horse's mouth, and coming up with my own opinion. Oh, because you watch Jimmy Dore. Well, Jimmy Dore is putting out the information that is pertinent to the time.
A Democratic crime bill. That's the secret. A Democratic crime bill.
The Democrats been in charge of the evil shit for how long? And y'all keep on trying. You keep KKK. And then he's, come on. They say it themselves.
A Democratic president wants 100,000 cops.
So I guess if you believe the Washington Post, Putin wrote that script for him. Because that's why people won't vote for him. You know, the biggest voting bloc in America is the 100 million people who don't vote. Black people in Milwaukee would not vote. People who voted for Barack Obama twice would not vote for Hillary Clinton. Black people in Wisconsin, Michigan would not vote for Hillary Clinton. Same people who won't vote for this motherfucker. Did Putin write that script for him? Because that's why.
In 94. Mind you.
Young black voters say they are enthusiastic about a Joe Biden presidency.
Not.
Because they're informed.
I can't believe Joe Biden picked a cop for his vice president.
That's it, man. Oh, no. Nah, he gets into more of this guy's fucking lies. I shouldn't go through it, but shit already got along. And I know how people's attention spans are short. But mind you, they gave Obama in 2009 this report. They gave Obama this report, the FBI report, about this in 2009. they look at this in a 2006 bulletin. The FBI detailed the threat of white nationalists and skinheads infiltrating the police in order to disrupt investigations against fellow members and recruit other supremacists. The bulletin was released during a period of scandal, and then you wonder why Joe Biden became the vice president. You wonder why he became the vice president. Give me a fucking break, bro. Give me a fucking break. People love telling you, oh, you're lying, you're making up shit. Fuck out of here. Obama knew this shit when he got in the fucking office and didn't do a goddamn thing. So guess what? I don't care about your fucking opinion. I don't care about how you came up with your assessment of what's happening in the world. You're not in my head. What you eat don't make me shit. And what I eat don't make you shit. If you don't believe it, that's on you. But it's here. Peace.